What's up? What's up? All my true funk soldiers, club funketeers around the world. On behalf of my producer, Mr. Mark Lee, extraordinary producer back there, the man behind the glass, keeping it funky, keeping it fast, always classy and never last. Welcome to Black History Month, right here on Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV, every Saturday, 12 p.m. Now we're going to go all around the world, starting up in New York, Bayshore, my hometown. How you doing? Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx. What's up, Boogie Down? Manhattan, LES. New Jersey, you heard? What's up, Donna? In time, you will know it. Baltimore, how you doing? B-More, DMV, what up? Everybody snap your fingers like this. I can feel you out there. I know you there with me today. Y'all stay active on that chat line. Oh, yeah. Delaware, are you aware? Philly Dilly, Funky Philly, how you doing? What's up? What's up? Oh, yeah, Virginia. Shout out to my nephew, Pat, and my family there. I love y'all, man. You feel better. I'll see you soon, nephew. West Virginia, what up? Big shout out to my daughter upstate. Kayla, I love you. Maya, I love you. Yeah, she's over here at Appalachian State doing her thing in college. I love y'all, man. Shout out to my son, Zachary, down in Georgia. I got you, bro. I love you. Ohio, what's up, Brenda? What's up, Boosie? What's up, Patty? How y'all doing? Up in the OHIO, Detroit 313. I got you, man. I'm proud of your Lions, man. Y'all did your thing up there. Minneapolis, MPLS. What's up, Vanessa? I need a Prince hat. Canada. I forgot about Buffalo, didn't I? What up, Buffalo? What up? What up? What up? Funk from the Front Seat, 9 on the Grind TV. Let's go down to Georgia, North and South Kakalaki. You feeling the funk? Funk, not fight. That's the message, yo. Let's unite. Put the guns down. Let's not fight tonight. Our first show, Black History Month. We got Cheryl Lynn Woodhouse is with us. Yes, and another special guest popping in, Jasmine Soray is in the house. Oklahoma, New Orleans, what's up, Nola? Anybody know if the groundhog saw a shadow? I'm not sure. Big up to Carl Weathers, man. We miss you. We love you. We know you transitioned out of here. You in a better place, man. Samoan doing the Humpty Hump. Tokyo, Anyang Haseyo. China, Japan, Dubai, England, all around the world for the funk. All the countries of Africa, North and South Pole, Ukraine, Russia. Y'all know how we do? Let's funk, not fight. In time, you will know it. In time. Yeah. Welcome to Funk from the Front Seat, right here at 9 on the Grind TV. Got a little different location, which is all good. Mad shouts out to everybody. Y'all stay active on the chat line. We're going to get really deep into it today, talking about Black history. It's our first show of the month. And we want your opinions out there. So hit us up on Facebook Messenger or this messenger right here on StreamYard or YouTube or whatever, man. You can find us. We're on so many platforms. So you can check us out. And let's just talk a little bit about the deep dive. And some of the questions that I need to ask is Black History Month helping us? Is it helping us grow? Does it bring attention to a lot of things that we need bringing attention to? Do a lot of the youth understand the need for Black history, or do they just see it as just another month of celebrations and things like that? Do they really understand the significance of it? And what it means to a lot of the people that I'm going to talk about today, some of which you heard, some of which you probably not have heard about if you're a little bit younger. But, I'm definitely going to do a deep dive into, what Nina Simone meant, what Marvin Gaye meant, What Maurice White went, which I came on with Bootsy and George Clinton and Bernie Worrell, what they meant, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner and Aretha Franklin, of course. I'm gonna give you my personal opinions, about Bill Cosby and some of these people that made Black history, So just keep in mind that it's an open forum. You're welcome to pop in anytime and join us. I'm looking for Sherilyn Woodhouse. So, Mark, I don't really see her. So I don't know if you're back there or not, but if you could pull her in. And forgive me because I'm sniffling because my sinuses are bothering me. The weather's changing here in North Carolina, the ragweed and all this other stuff. So if you see me sniffling from time to time, that's what that's about. I woke up feeling a little under the weather, but you know what they say, one monkey don't stop no show, and the show must go on. Mad shouts out to C. Thank you so much. Love you. You picked out a beautiful wardrobe for me today to wear, the Funk Not Fight shirt and my brand new chapeau that I'm rocking a little bit, changing the style up a little bit. So thank you for that, for taking care of my wardrobe. The groundhog, according to my producer, Mr. Mark Lee, did not see his shadow. So does that mean we get like more winter time? Is that what that means? I don't know. I've gotten confused ever since I was a kid. Shadow, no shadow, winter, no winter. Who the hell knows? Anyway, according to my crack weatherman, Mr. Mark Lee, excuse me. My crack weatherman, Mr. Mark Lee, he did not see his shadow. So that's a good thing. So lift up your cup and throw your hands up and let me hear the party say funk from the front seat, not on the grind TV. So check this out. Today, I'm going to do a little dive into my thoughts about Black history and Black History Month and what it actually means. So y'all sit back, relax. I hope you got plenty of light and it's all good. And I want to give a shout out to all this beautiful artwork behind me. Of course, my guy over there, Ken Frank, did this one right here. And Curtis Wilcox did that one. And Georgia Funky Vinci did that one. And Curtis did that up here. So all you guys checking it out. Also, Aquarius Rising Art. Patricia DeOria. And she's the one that did my lovely business cards. Let me see. See right there. Hold on. There we go. It's hard working in reverse. Oh, there we go. There you go. Now you can see. Yeah. So Patricia DeOria, thank you. I love you for that, man. So check this out. Black history. This is what it has always meant to me. Now I came up in a different time when we were. Every day was Black history. Every day should be Black history. Every day should be American history. Every day should be Native American history, Chinese American history, Asian American history, Latino community. It should be just history. I don't really like the fact that we say Black history, all right? Because we should be beyond that now. And of course, it's Black History Month. But if somebody does something in June or July, should that not be recognized too as like, okay, they make a history or whatever, So I think we need to, as always, with different and new information comes a different objective point of view. So as we get more information, we need to constantly evolve with that information and change it up and switch it up. Right. Again, these are my opinions, not the opinion of StreamYard, not the opinion of YouTube, not the opinion of Facebook, not the opinion of any other platform that we are on, TikTok, Twitter, and all this other kind of crazy stuff. None of that, because it's my opinions, it's my show. So these are just my opinions. Please don't go after those people for my opinions. Come straight after me if you need to. Okay. So here's what we need to look at. When we look at history, we think about, from my recollection, the Civil War, Revolutionary War. We think about, the British coming over here trying to bum rush the country, the Pilgrims and all this other bullshit, right? We think about all this stuff because this is what we were taught. Okay, now with new information, we are taught different things. So the way I look at it now, from what I know now, almost 66 years old, and the stuff that I was taught back in the 60s, I got to honestly say, I'm very disappointed in the public educational system because it was all bullshit. And they knew it was bullshit. And my father used to tell me it was bullshit, because he knew better. talked about the black heroes. He talked about, his heroes were baseball heroes. He talked about them. He talked about Satchel Paige, and he talked about, one of the greatest home run hitters ever. And he talked about, this guy that was so fast, he could steal bases and wait until the first baseman had the ball and run the second. He was so fast, like he could cut off the light and jump into bed before it was dark. Cool Papa Bell was his name. And for y'all that don't know, I know my Negro history when it comes to the Negro baseball leagues, because I actually went to the Hall of Fame and saw their exhibit when they came to Shea Stadium when I went to see the Mets. So Josh Gibson, of course, greatest home run hitter ever, not Babe Ruth. So these are things that my dad talked about, and these were things that I learned. He also was a Baptist minister, so intertwined with the spiritual side that I was getting from him, he also gave me the freedom to understand the Indian culture, the Native American Indian culture. He let me have a Quran in my house so I could read that, because I was always interested in a book that I had to read back to front for me, which was opposite. Not they're saying that they're wrong, but I'm just saying for me. And I was interested in the book because I asked him, well, Dad, why is this in reverse? He said, go ahead and read it. Check it out. So he always gave me that freedom. He always allowed me to be myself. He always allowed me to understand that the world is ever changing, ever evolving. And he gave us a platform, and the ability to my sister and I, and he gave us the wherewithal to understand that a lot of the stuff that we were learning in school simply was not true. Now, one of the ways that I was getting my Black history, and I'm grateful to these people, was television. And I'll tell you why. Even though they mocked us on TV, blackface and, shuffling and this and that, the people that I paid most attention to were like Sammy Davis Jr., Sarah Vaughan, people like that were singing on some of these shows. Mahalia Jackson, Nat King Cole had his own show, right? And I remember watching this, and I remember like, okay, during the commercial of Nat King Cole's show, he had Jackie Robinson, who had retired from baseball and was doing Chuck Full of Nuts coffee commercials or Maxwell House commercials. Right. And I was like, wow, that's Jackie Robinson, one of the greatest baseball players ever, broke the color barrier. Now he's doing commercials. So we were subliminally getting, and if you were paying attention as a young Black child, you subliminally were getting history. You just had to understand how to crack the code with it. Because when Mahalia Jackson came on and sang on the Ed Sullivan Show, first gospel artist ever, she was making history. Hey, let's bring Cheryl in. How you doing, Cheryl? Come on in.
Hey,
I'm one of our guests today, Cheryl. Club Funketeer ambassador, retired military, line dancer extraordinaire, all around the world, blowing up, doing all this good stuff. How are you doing, my love?
I am doing awesome. I am doing awesome. Glad to be a part of your show as always. I love my funk family, everybody.
Thank you for joining the show. I was just sitting here kicking it about my experiences with Black history, and I was going to say that when I look back, we were subliminally getting it through commercials and everything because they made fun of us in the movies and TV. But some Black artists were actually breaking through, and I had a list that I had went down or whatever. And I was like Nat King Cole and, people like that, Sarah Vaughan, and these people that had their shows early on. And one thing that people don't realize is that when, even though he did what he did and was accused of what he did, Bill Cosby was very instrumental in the Black community back then, because he had his own show, and he was also in I Spy, one of the first earlier things that he did, so with Robert Culp. And these are ways that I subliminally was getting my Black history, because I mentioned before you got here, all the stuff that I learned in the 60s was all BS. It really was a lie. It didn't, make sense. My father told me it didn't make sense. And he said, listen, just try to pass. But he said, Black people did more than invent the cotton gin. We did more than, stuff like that. We actually were an integral part of building this country, along with Native Americans, along with Asian Americans, along with Mexican Americans, along with Chinese Americans. We were a part of that fabric, that quilt. So before we do a deep dive, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. And for those of you that don't know, Cheryl is my co-host, and she'll be popping and doing this show, here and there, so I can take a break from it. We're going on 5 years. So tell our audience a little bit about yourself, love.
Well, hello everybody, first of all, and thank you, Zach, for allowing me to be on your show again. My name is Cheryl Lynn Woodhouse, born and bred from Chicago, Illinois. I am the sister of young James Brown, Tony Wilson, the sister of Dr. Wilson, who is also part of our I Am Walk organization, as well as military as well. We both kind of came in almost around the same time, but I brought her in later. So I joined the military in 1979, and at my home where I'm at right now, Fort Jackson. Columbia is my second home because this is where I started my life and my career, being a person in administration, doing admin, project, everything. So I'm just an all-around girl. Grew up doing tap dance, modern dance. My parents, Jewel, rest in heaven, and my dad, Lorenzo, rest in heaven. They both kept us off the streets of Chicago and in the park district. So I knew this at 3 years old. All I saw was people dancing and bouncing around. And then grew up dancing with Tony and my brothers, thinking we was the Michael Jackson band. And you already know who I was. I was little Janet from day one. And I never kind of stopped learning that type of craft. So going to the parks, watching my sisters and them dance and being able to do it at 4 and 5, it's just always been a part of our life. So I joined the military and I kept it as a part of my life because the military is stressful enough. We have to deal with learning how to use weapons, learning how to go in a gas changer and come out halfway not breathing. So with all of that, you got to take some of that and put it into something good. And for me, it was just always dance. I played sports. I did volleyball all in high school, ran track, was a cheerleader, pom pom, you name it. But it always, nothing compared to bringing me back to dance, no matter what I did. So I just think, helping people, always being a servant to people, that's kind of how we grew up, respectfully trying to be respectful to people. But as you join military, as you join organizations, as you join groups with sisters and brothers, you start to learn, different ways to move. And sometimes it's always not good, but you find a way to work it out. And that's what I have to say about the military. It taught us to learn integrity, it taught us to move right, and it taught us to learn different disparities, inclusion, diversity. They're still talking about that now. But to be honest, the military has always tried to do that, but it's just one of those things that we got to meet people where they are today and
Yeah.
just understand people because mental health is just kicking our butt,
Oh
and
my
we got
God,
to
yes, bad.
recognize it,
Yeah.
especially during Black History Month. We got to realize what it really truly is and how it really affects people. Truly.
Yeah. I agree with you about that mental health thing. I just wrote that down as a subject, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
bad. So when you think about Black history from a military veteran's point of view, not the wars that were passed, but just in from 1950 on up, right? How do you think the society deems our place in the military along with other minorities?
Mm, I want to say, during the 50s, of course, I was born in the 60s and not really understanding the military. I just knew that they protected us. I
Right.
knew that they sent the men off to war without a decision. 17, 18, you had to sign up. But as I got older, I want to say about 10, 11, and they started talking about history and the military, 1775, George Washington. Always looked at it as type of British army and where do our African Americans fit in. I thought about the Buffalo Soldiers. I thought about Kathy Williams, the one that was a female and and turned into a male just to join the military. So what I see now, what I saw then is that women didn't really have a place in the military, and I think that's still our fight today. And it's not about placement because women have stepped up and they show their empowerment. But sometimes you got to look at it as what was back in the 60s and the 50s and what is now. And it has changed tremendously. Even back then, they probably struggled and fight for it, but has that changed?
I
You know what I
think
mean?
a lot of the women that you mentioned, they paved the way for you, obviously, and your sister and your family.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that's something that you carry with pride because when we do our WOC shows all the time, I can see how much pride you have in that. And I'm proud of you just to be my funk sister and my sister in Christ. I appreciate everything that you do. When I look at, for me, because I never knew my great uncle Doc, and I never knew my uncle Doc and my father's older brothers because he had two brothers that served in the military back
Mhm.
in World War II, and then also the war after that. I guess the Korean War. I don't really know. I can't remember. But anyway, he because I remember going to my uncle's funeral and it was a military funeral. He was dressed in his uniform, right, his army uniform, and I remember looking around the room and even as a kid, this was profound to me, right? I was like,
Mhm.
there's no white people here.
Right.
So if he fought for the country,
Hmm.
and then he comes back to his country and he's treated like three-fifths of a man, less than a man, and all this other kind of stuff, um, I'm sure our ancestors then endured a lot of pain that we now take for granted, especially young
Right.
people, not you. And that's what I want to bring attention to because I think our young people should really understand. Yes, these are
Hmm.
photos of Martin Luther King, Malcolm, and Medgar Evers, and this one and that one, and Rosa. They're photos, they're pictures, but they were also real people, flesh and blood people, human beings with families, with feelings, with resentment, with anger, with depression. A lot of times we don't understand just how depressed any
Hmm.
minority is when they're being oppressed. I see a uniform in the back. Yo, that's dope. With pride, right? I got you. Always with pride. Every time
Always.
you post it on Facebook, I got to tag it. I got to hit it. That's pride right there. See, that's Black history. For y'all that are watching this show right there, I'm getting goosebumps. That's Black history. That's why Rosa Parks sat in the back of the bus. That's why Martin got shot. That's why Malcolm did what he did. So this woman could do that. See, and it's all part of the chain. So I think that we forget how depression played a huge part in those minorities, including ourselves, that we forget about. When we see Martin Luther King Jr.'s picture or Rosa Parks' picture, we looking at a two-dimensional thing. But we're not thinking about, man, this man was beaten, persecuted. All the people that he represented was going through the same stuff. And imagine the depression that they were feeling. Imagine working all day and then going home with 2 cents in your pocket. I chop cotton. My father took me down south early on when I was 7, 8 years old, just expressively to get me to understand the feeling, emotion, watching people that were out there for like 10, 12 hours a day in the hot sun with big bags of cotton on their back. Literally in the 60s, they were still chopping cotton the old fashioned way with their fingers. So I got a real good sense of Black history when I was growing up, probably more than a lot more, people that I knew in my neighborhood or whatever. So let
Hmm.
me ask you. Um, I wrote down some people: Nina Simone, Marvin Gaye, Maurice White, Bootsy, George, Bernie, Stevie Wonder, Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan, Bill Cosby. Those were just a few people that I was going to chop it up with you about. And we're expecting another guest too. She's supposed to pop in, Jasmine Saray, a friend of mine that I met that I've been vibing with down here about 12:30. So y'all hang out, funk from the front seat, not on the grind TV. Y'all know how we do funk, not fight, right? Repping my camp, Bootsy Collins camp, repping the camp. So let me ask you your thoughts on Bill Cosby as a American pioneer for Black History Month. What are your thoughts, not now, but back then? How did you see him helping the cause and the movement?
I thought he was an awesome dad figure because he took and grew up those girls and boys on TV, and those are people that look like us, that dealt with the same type of struggles that we dealt with. And just watching the episode play out, it's kind of in my head as a child. I always waited to see how he handled, his children from their issues with boyfriends, girlfriends, or just life. things they wanted to do. And just watching Lil Raven Simone and Keisha Knight Pullman and even Lamar, you know what I'm saying? All of these kids, Lisa Bonet, you watch what they do after the fact. But looking at how they started, Bill Cosby had a lot to do with that. And you're right, it don't matter what he did and what happened, because everybody's given a second chance in life. And you have to look at what did they put in? How did they pour into you? And every Black American, I'm just being honest, in general, have to say Bill Cosby did something for them and their family.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Everybody ran to the TV to watch the Bill Cosby show. You can't deny that.
And
I know our family did.
he had one of the first Black cartoons.
Oh yeah.
The Cosby
Hey,
Kids.
hey.
Right? Hey, that's right. And Fat Albert, right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People forget that. He developed that for us for Saturday mornings, because he was an educator. It still is, obviously. And when I saw the Jackson 5 have a cartoon, and I saw the Cosby Kids, and then I saw the Harlem Globetrotters, I was like, well, damn, Black people, we in cartoons now. You know what I'm saying? That was big back then for us, for our generation. Right. That was huge. We had never seen that before, And
it was always one or two. We always had one or two people to look up to that were on TV. And for me, that was Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor, because, we love to cut up and laugh. So that was our guy. And then you had, Debbie Allen, because, she was the dancer. And it was just so many greats on TV that really did it
As
for
a Black woman, how do you see Black women evolving from that time on the screen? And some of the stuff that's out now, I got to be honest with you, maybe I'm old. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe it's just not my thing. I don't want to put it down. But I try to relate to some stuff, that these young people do. And I can't grab it. So I just leave it alone because it makes me frustrated. Because I know, like my good Dr. Cornel West said, we can be grander than you are. And I'm like, do you really got to go there with it? I mean, can you pull it back in just a little bit for me? Dr. Pamela Wilson, come on in and join this lovely party. What's up, Doc? Oh, you rocking the purple.
Hey, Dr. Wilson.
Greetings to both of you. How are you doing today?
I'm beautiful, man. Wonderful. It's getting better and better on the screen. Look at that. Dr. Pamela Wilson joining us on this discussion about Black History Month. Please tell our audience a little bit about yourself. You got time. Give them a little rundown so they kind of know who you are and why you rocking the purple like that.
Well, I rock the purple namely because I did 32 years in the military. So purple represents the color for all of the services. Did you know that?
No, I did not. That's why I wanted you to tell us.
I'm going to let you know that purple is the color for Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and Coast Guard, and it represents everybody. But personally, purple is one of my favorite colors, but it represents passion for me.
I love it. I love it.
Passion for whatever it is that's important to you.
Yeah. Now, when you say, we'll give you a second, but when you say it represents all of the branches of our government, military-wise, is it like something you wear, or is it a flag, or is it something on your uniform? How do you, where is it displayed at? Like, I guess is what I'm asking.
It's actually the color, Zach. It's the unified color. As like Army wears green, Air Force wears blue. Everyone has their uniform colors. Purple unites everyone.
Okay, I got you.
So you don't wear purple. You have the purple mentality.
Right. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Yes, that's what I was thinking. That meant, yes. And I can't exclude my guy Prince.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about your military career as a Black Afro-American woman in the military. Obviously, you've moved up. You're a very high-ranking officer. So tell us a little bit about that experience and how you see that was a part of Black history then, now, and going forward.
Well, Zach, that's a good question. First of all, Black history starts with family history. So in order for you to get to where you are, it starts in your family. And that's what it was for me. I'm fortunate to have your guest. My baby sister, Cheryl Woodhouse, brought me into the military and was actually my first mentor. So I think it's important to set the stage of how you come in, because how you start something is a clear indicator if you have a lot of motivation and drive to how you're going to finish something. And so having a mentor, I think, is the driving force in anything that you do. And I had that going on into the military. So in every segment of my life, if it was outside organizations that assisted me or organizations within the inside that made you strong, you always had someone that was equally invested in your career and equally invested in your success. So they lay those breadcrumbs in front of you so you're able to achieve a little more than you thought possible.
Well, I can honestly tell you, just from my experiences with you ladies, you guys represent at the highest level in every way. Like you said, God, family, military, career, line dancing, spreading your wings out to bring people like myself in, along with your very extremely talented brother, Tony Wilson. And see, this is what it's about. What we're doing right now, we're documenting. This is Black history. Because 50 years from now, somebody will be able to look back and say, well, they were in it. They were on it. They were doing so we could now have. I had asked Cheryl a minute ago about Bill Cosby. I'm going to ask you about Marvin Gaye, Cheryl, and then I'll let Dr. Wilson get in as well. Marvin Gaye, Cheryl, his impact on Black history as you've seen it through his music and his angelic way of expressing our pain through that piano. Yes, Mark, that would be great.
You just said it. When I think about Marvin Gaye, as I was coming up, I'm going to be honest, it was babies being made. I wasn't having them, but it was that type of music that soothed your soul, that helped you through hard times. If your family or your parents was going through something, you could throw on Marvin Gaye and ease your heart. You know what I mean? But he also had a way of, to me, as I was coming up and something happened to him that made you start thinking, through his music. It made me start listening to his music differently because of the struggles that he went through with his family. So sometimes when I see people that have struggles, you listen to what they sing about. And as my sister always taught me, listen for what people don't say. You know what I mean? And look at what they're not seeing so that you can help be the eyes. One thing we learned in the military, catch that ball before it dropped. And for that music, Marvin Gaye, he kind of helped a lot of balls drop. And you can take that either way, in a good way.
Doctor?
Sometimes I just think the singers don't get they just do either,
Yeah.
Zach, I think that's an excellent point that Cheryl made on listening to the things that people don't say. But Marvin Gaye said it well. And if you listen to that song, What's Going On, you get a chance to dissect some of the things that he made us aware of before they even occurred. Like he said, there's too many dying. It's too many that's bringing escalation to the world. He said clearly, we don't need to escalate. You see, war is not the answer. So he gave us lyrics that opened our mind and let us know that if we use what God gave us, our God-given right to education, to learning, and to thinking for yourself, that this world would be better for everyone. And he continually asked the question, what's going on? So he had you think about what's going on in your life so you can apply it to the big life that everyone is living in.
Yeah, that's right. Very well said. I'm hanging out today with, of course, Dr. Pamela A. Wilson and, of course, funk line dancer and line dance ambassador Cheryl Woodhouse, also military veterans that served this country so proudly. One thing that I liked about what you just said is I've always been a wordsmith. Okay, so I listen to what people are singing about in addition to the music. And the first word in that song is mother. He's crying out, mother, mother, You know what I'm saying? So not only is he crying out to the strongest people on the planet, Mom, but to God, because and Mother Earth. This is the brilliance and genius of the wordsmith. That's right, George Da Vinci Trouble Man was insane. What's up, bro? Black History Month, man. Y'all stay active on the chat line. Please feed us your questions and comments so we can get them on the screen. Mother, I got goosebumps. Marvin is tapping in on me now. We got you, Marvin. We ain't gonna forget you, bro. We got you, bro. We got you. His genius was cut short, like so many others. And because of the records and the stuff that he did, we still have it. So thank you, Marvin, for that. I want to ask you about, Mark, what's the next picture? I'll just let you do it, and then we'll go down in order. So this way we'll stay more organized that way. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. That's our first show, Black History Month, Funk from the Front Seat, live, 9 on the Grind TV. Got a lot of surprises, and my co-host, Sherilyn Woodhouse, will be here doing some shows this season, and I will take a much-needed vacation. 5 years. I've only had I don't know, maybe Mark could tell you, 7 days off. Maybe 4 of them was because I was sick over the past 5. So I'm due. Okay. Picture says enough. Dr. Wilson, I'm going to let you go first.
Stevie saw a lot with his heart that others see with their eyes. And his music resonated with all of us to open our eyes up and teach us what love really was like. Listen to that song he did with Love, the one that captured everybody. I just called to say I love you. Simple words, family oriented. Those that bridge the family. Stevie gave us those words, and he gave it to us at such a young age, and still today he's bringing us that song, and he's letting us know I can make a song, and the song I make is going to change history. And he did that, helping to make this Martin Luther King holiday a success.
That's right.
So hats off to Stevie. Stevie is Black history.
I love it. That's what I wanted to hear. You loving it? Cheryl.
When I see his face, I can see that album my sister had down in her room that I used to grab and play on my little spinner. Been spending most our lives living in the pastime paradise. That was my jam. And I was 12 years old. What do I know about pastime paradise? But it's just something about that song. When you listen to the words, it's like, to me, get out of the past and continue to grow and be fruitful in your own paradise. You ain't got to be on no island. Your island is your home and your space. So just listening to all of the songs. He even says happy birthday. We still play that at the line dance events. You know, we beef it up a little bit, but Stevie is still in our dance hall because he does. Like Pam said, he talks about love, happiness, and I just love watching him play that piano and moving that head the way he moves it. It's like he can feel what I feel when I'm on the dance floor and that body moving in ways. I may do a pop and be, ooh, how the hell I do that? It's the body. And that's what he feels when his head is just going and going. He be into his music. So I just love watching him perform. I really do.
Yeah, you're so right. And thank you for those two beautiful, comments about Stevie. I know, just hold on 1 second, Mark, before you go. His Stevie, what you just said, Cheryl, is so cool because he writes music and plays and sings like he's singing directly to you. You can be in an auditorium, 50,000 people, but his song reaches to you. I had the pleasure of seeing him once at Madison Square Garden in Square Circle Tour. Just completely messed me up for the rest of my life because I was like, that's genius. That's divine genius. When he did that song, as a kid, I cried when he said, love's in need of love today. Don't delay. Send yours in right away. When he did that, and I know you channeling me, Stevie. I love you, bro. When he did that song, I cried. I came out of the room. My father said, boy, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? I said, Dad, and I had to panel it. I said, Dad, this song is amazing. I ain't forget. Paneling, baby. That's a private joke between me and my girl. Paneling, right? Oh, bring her in, please. Jazz, come on in and join the party. But when he did that song, what up, love? Unmute. You got to unmute. Unmute. Mark, help her unmute. There you go. We're going to get that straight. When he did that song, my father said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Listen to the words of this song, how powerful it is," right? And my father loved all my music, but he loved Larry Graham, of course, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, some of Bootsy. But he just loved the fact that artists from my generation was doing this, speaking out, walking to get Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday recognized. Things like that. So we got a lot to thank this man for in Black history. Stevie, we salute you, bro. Many, many years. Aretha Franklin, I'm going to let you ladies take that one as well, because I can tell you what she meant to me. I couldn't marry her, but I thought about it. I was like, I wonder if I get backstage, will Aretha marry me? And sing to me. Because, she did a lot of Carole King songs. Carole King was a great writer, and she wrote a lot of stuff for Aretha. Mark, you got that picture of Aretha? Stevie's like, I ain't getting off, just like he did at the Grammys. I ain't getting off. Oh, there she is. Look at that. The essence. Doctor, I'm going to let you go first.
Anyone that can say something about Aretha and not say it in an angelic way is among the ones that's included with me. This was a dynamite singer. Aretha, she was so gracious. I think people need to understand about her. She came into the business giving, and she didn't know how to do anything but give at the young age that she was. But family, she showed right away how important that was to her. Later, we would learn different stories about her family, but what she showed in front of us was respect. She asked for it, and she gave it. So in order for her to ask for the things she asked for in that song, she had to emulate that. And she did that through her words and deeds. She showed us a lot. She showed us how to move around, and she showed us as an artist how she didn't move around. She didn't fly. She took the bus. So she lived her own life her way, but at the same time, she delivered everything as the queen of soul to the industry of music and left us a legacy that we'll never forget. Queen of soul is everything to music.
Yes, she was. We have our guest today as well popping in. Cheryl, I'm going to let you comment on that in a second. Hello, how are you? And please introduce yourself. Did we get the volume straight, Mark? Tahira, you're muted on your phone, I think, if you're using it. So you might have to go in your settings and unmute and to allow StreamYard to let the volume come through. We see you, but we can't hear you. Cheryl, go ahead and comment on Aretha.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
When I think about Aretha, of course, because I line dance, there's plenty of songs that we do. I started off when I first started line dancing in Columbia, Respect. You know what I mean? RESPECT. That was one of the key things. But the one that makes me cry on the dance floor and I play it off is Wonderful. I just gotta let you know, in case you didn't know, I think you're wonderful. You know what I'm saying? That song relates pretty much to everybody that follows or is in your heart, because people in the world are wonderful. You know what I mean? People have their own talents, and Aretha Franklin has that soulful way of grabbing us no matter what. The presidents and them wanted her. When you get on that level where they want you at their inaugurations, you really can't touch that because it touches their heart. And she was able to reach people internationally across the world just with that soulful tones. Really, nobody can follow behind her. We hear people that sound like her, but it's a lot of us out there. But you can't touch the soulful sound of Aretha Franklin. She just
Ms. Dior, can you hear us? Can we hear you now? We still can't hear you. We see you, but we can't hear you. And I'm not sure why. Maybe if you go out and come back in, try that. We got time. You ain't going nowhere. So go out and come back in. There you go. Mark, see if you can help her out. Give her a call, please, and see if you can help her out. I know this next artist that we're going to show definitely had an amazing impact and still does on the music game, on the music industry. Of course, we rep him all the time. Funk Not Fight, all the good causes that Peppermint Patty and Bootsy Collins do for the world. All of those things that you see, Bruno Mars and everything else. Mr. Collins, this man right here changed the game. Came up with his own groups, then James and everything else. Doctor, I'm gonna let you comment on him, Dr. Wilson. You can go first, of course.
Oh, I'll be happy to talk about Bootsy Collins. Yeah, absolutely. He is a trailblazer and a trendsetter. When he gave us Flashlight, I tell you, that just opened up the world of funk. It told you something, a message that you didn't even know that you had. He set the tone for that song. And just in how he operates now, just have a legend to give back the way that he did and now bring back the future of funk. He's doing that with his family. He's doing that with new artists. I think that it's important to give back. And I think that when you set that legacy and someone is part of that legacy, you invite them to continue being part of your aura right now. James Brown, huge impact having Bootsy Collins as his drummer, and just little things that help Bootsy get out on his own. And look how Bootsy gave back. He incorporated young James Brown, and just the things he's done alone for other artists, especially my brother, young James Brown. It just makes me respect him even more as an artist. Absolutely, he is Black history. And I'll tell you, Zach, we had an opportunity to see him in the African American Museum last summer, and they have an awesome display of Bootsy Collins. So I tell you, anybody get a chance to go to the Beltway, go look at that display. He made us proud. The exhibit is wonderful.
That's right. I've been there. I've seen it, dressed in that yellow. I've seen it, man. Yeah, man. I've been there. Cheryl.
Oh yeah, that display was beautiful. Me and my sisters and us was trying to take pictures in front of it. It was the awesome thing. But I think just the opportunity, like Pam said, Flashlight. Okay, we was dancers back in the day. We had to dance to Flashlight, and even though he was in the band with I think George Clinton and them, he started off with branching off and doing his own thing. And then that's when everything just kind of came together. And then the fact that Tony was rocking all of this music in the house and everywhere he go, when he first set up with him, he was flying out to go dance with him on stage. During that time frame, we was listening and keyed in, but it didn't really settle in until he started going to Japan and overseas and with everybody. So I was like, wow, every time I turned around, he was with Bootsy. Then the pandemic hit. And he had wanted to branch out. I think Bootsy was doing a little stuff in Columbus or Cincinnati with one of our key line dancers, Robert Johnson, who is an awesome line dancer. But when Tony had a meeting with him, he had mentioned, hey, why don't you look at my sister for your Power to One album? She'll make a line dance up to it. So he sent it to me. I did a little something, sent it to him. And then, of course, they ran with it. And it just happened to be his birthday. They did it during his October birthday. So that kind of what kicked it off. And then Patty asked, would you be my ambassador? And that's when I said, absolutely. But instead of being selfish, I love to share. I contacted the line dance world and certain people, several I linked up with, to ask them to be an ambassador to funk, for Bootsy Collins. But then you have my brother, Tony Wilson. He's part of the funk. You also have yourself, Zach, with United We Stand line dance. Sorry, we got a little ambulance stuff going on. With United line dance. So we just, the funk is everybody. So for me, it's getting people together all around the world to do, not just Bootsy dances, but James Brown dances and United We Stand for the, funk. The funk is everybody. So I'm here. Always
That's
willing.
Right. And check it out. Doctor, you were right because Bootsy originally wrote it and then gave the track to George. But Bootsy played drums on the track. So you were correct when you said Bootsy had that influence in Flashlight as well. Then he gave the track to George. And then, Bootsy laid the track, played drums on it. But his influence in that whole era of 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, even today with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak and Lettuce and Funk You and all these other bands that Bootsy works with. Yeah. That was the clarification, Doc. Don't worry about it. Yeah, because it's all from the mothership, so it's all good. And who do we got next, Mark? Who's our next picture? We're hanging out. We're trying to get our guest back on. Another guest that we have, another young lady. I wanted her opinion about Black history. Very cool, very nice. Her and I have been vibing, just talking about life and stuff a lot. But yeah, so as Mark is working on that, we have none other than the Dr. George Clinton. Just got his Hollywood star. This is one of the most influential, no matter what people say. I'm not getting into that part of it, but this is one of the most influential musicians and artists on the planet. Dr. Wilson.
Zach, you know what? You couldn't have did that intro even better. In my era, I went to high school in the 70s. We were all about George Clinton. It was nothing but the funk. And to this day, he is still bringing the funk. It's the birth of everything we know now. He is really the father of all of that. I tell you, if James Brown had one huge influencer, it was George Clinton. I bet you that. And with him being so the innovator in the funk music, he had that opportunity in 1997 to get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We were so happy to see that. But on top of that, he's received Grammy after Grammy and recognition after recognition. This guy, the funk master, he is the one that set the tone for the way we see music now. So I'm glad to just say a few words about George Clinton. Love his flavor.
Love you, George. You the man. Cheryl.
Absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. I love his colors. He is rainbowed out from head to toe most times when he on stage. But you know what? That just sets the stage for the funk. It's crazy because I work with the retired first sergeant, and his brother that he lost actually drove from North Carolina to Charleston at Hard Rock Cafe to deliver the keys to the city to George Clinton from North Carolina. And during this time frame, he was apparently sick and dying during that time frame. But to him, it was that important that apparently they wasn't able to give it to George before he had left to go to the Hard Rock Cafe. So since his brother was part of that committee or whatever it was, he took the strength of him and drove all the way down there just to give George the key to the city from the mayor. And just that story alone is awesome. He wrote it up for me, and I kind of was going to use it for Black History when Patty was doing her military things during that time frame. I never got to get that story out, but I just think that it's crazy that you meet people and they all have a connection, some kind of way, their family member to musicians, and not necessarily singing and dancing, but trying to deliver something to them because they feel like that person is just that great.
Yeah, and they keeping it alive. I'm just always enamored that people down here don't know that he was actually born down here in North Carolina, in Kannapolis. So that always bothers me, but I'm down here holding it down for you. George, you are Black History, bro. Congratulations on all you do. We're going to continue to hold this stuff down for you and Bootsy. And we got another innovator from the mothership that was equally as important, if not the driving force behind everything that was keyboards for Parliament Funkadelic. This man, Bernard Da Vinci Worrell, his first name was George, ironically, but Bernie Worrell. And Cheryl, I'm gonna let you go first this time. Oh, Cheryl, Doctor. Okay, Doctor, I'm gonna let you go first. What do you think about Mr. Bernie Worrell, the keyboard wizard behind Flashlight and everything else?
Well, we have to have someone that starts history off, and Bernie did that with excellence. I tell you, when you look at the influences of music now, that keyboard arrangement, if you look at how rap is going now, it is nothing but the influences of Bernie. He made us look at music a different way. And I tell you, that keyboard was instrumental really in helping the dance industry to keep on track. That
Yep.
keyboard is it. So I'm sure that my sister will relate to you that just having that beat and having the keyboard to keep you aligned, that is the epitome right there of a musician and of an artist who has to keep others on track. So we thank Bernie for that. He made us relevant in terms of listening and understanding why he was playing that piano, why those keyboards made an impact on music today. I tell you, it's in education. And he said he probably should be indicated in the education field for breaking ground in that arena, because
That's
that's how
right.
you learn. That's how you learn keyboarding nowadays.
Yep, that's right.
That's how you learn a lot of things. So when you talk education and you get these artists and get them to be guests in these educational settings, they wrote the manuals. They wrote the manuals.
Yeah, they did. He was a genius. Cheryl.
Yes, Zach. I stopped away for a minute to get a number.
No worries.
Who is this right here?
Bernie Worrell.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't really know Bernie Worrell's music. What did he make?
Well, he did. He's the keyboard player for P-Funk, Parliament, played on Bootsy stuff, Georgia stuff, Flashlight, all that.
Okay, got it. So with that said, Pam said it all. When it comes to the Funk Brothers, they push the music. And even when you got musicians, you got to listen to them when they playing their instruments. Let me just say this. When I go to Tony shows and I listen to his band, I tune out the singing and I watch the band members and I watch how they move. I watch how when a certain beat finna come, what they do. And if you look at their face, oh my God, it's amazing to watch how y'all move like that.
Are
So
we live? Can you hear us?
I think it's awesome that musicians.
No, we can't hear you. I'm sorry. Hold on one second, Cheryl. I don't know what it is. We see you.
Maybe
You
her
got the
earbuds.
headphones? You
She
got
may need to take
headphones?
those out.
Take your headphones out. It might be that. Hold on one second. We're trying to get this young lady in. And see if you can put it on speaker. Maybe that'll help. Put your phone on speaker. I'm so sad. I really want to get you on. Yeah, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Mark, you got to figure this out. I'll bring you lunch later. But Bernie was one of the innovators when it came to keyboards. He was writing concertos and, on the road when he was 4, 5, 6 years old. He was a genius. He used to say ghetto genius and all of that stuff. So Bernie definitely was one of the most influential keyboardists, like you said, Dr. Wilson and Cheryl, for all the hip hop stuff now. Everything that Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg do now, that's Bernie Worrell. People don't know the song Juicy. Remember the song Juicy? He co-wrote that with M2May. People don't know that's Bernie Worrell. People don't know Talking Heads, Burning Down the House. That's Bernie Worrell, So he definitely was one of the most influential people in Black history. At this point, did we get you in volume-wise? We got you? Hold on. I see you. Okay, hold on one second. Let me unmute you. Okay, it says that you're muted on your side.
Okay.
Now it's unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank
yes,
God.
we were going to get you. Don't worry about it. Introduce yourself. This is Cheryl Lynn Woodhouse. This is Dr. Pamela Wilson. They served the military. This is a good friend of mine. Please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them your name and a little bit about yourself.
Very nice to meet you as well.
My name is Jasmine. You see my middle name on the screen there. I am 23. I'm Indigenous American. I am a natural born artist, creative, and designer. I'm also a herbalist. And I'm into many much more things.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I also love music as well. I don't know if you guys have seen on the internet. I've been seeing it a few times. I always wondered what that was. When I listen to music, I'm very sensitive to it, and I tend to get like goosebumps, and they call that very special brain activity. Not all people can do that. Like it's very amazing. I could hear every syllable and every instrument when I listen to songs.
Yeah. I know when you and I first met, and I was driving Uber, I picked you up and we were talking a lot about this very day. And I said, I wanted to have you on my podcast because I like to have a variety. Also, it's Black History Month. Also, you're from another different kind of generation than me, even though you're a young woman. So I always want youth. I always want opinions. I value what you have to say because it's important, and I want my audience to understand this is why we do this show. This is why we do the Women of Color show, the Military History show. We try to do as many shows as we can about positivity, peace, love, and harmony. I want your thoughts. And we were just running down a list of some pictures about, people that were in the business as far as Black history goes. And since you're here, where do you see your connection from the time that you were born as far as understanding Black history and what is special about it, and why is it important to you personally?
That's a lot. What I could see about Black history from the time that I was born to now, right? Um, I see that people are taking unconventional turns when it comes to Black history and not really sticking to. I think that our traditions are uh, being seen as outplayed nowadays. Like people are trying to take different approaches when it comes to changing the course of Black history from. Uh, I was born in 2000, and that's a lot of people thought that the world was going to end because millennials, like 1999 is over, it's 2000s, like what's going to happen? This is a whole different century that we're stepping into. Um, there's so much going on. Where would you like for me to point more towards, like the music it in general, or
Just your
because I
opinion
could go
about.
from every aspect, really.
Yeah, not necessarily any one thing. Just do you? I guess I can put it to you this way: do you see the necessary continuation of Black History Month? Has it had an impact on you? I guess is what I want to know. Because you kind of alluded to it before, like people are not poo-pooing it, but they don't really take as much stock, say, as others do. So do you think it's doing what it's supposed to do?
I don't think that it is.
So how
No.
can we make it? And I'm not putting this on you. That's why I wanted to do this show, because I want to know what we can do to try to enhance that as Afro-American people. And you guys can jump in, Cheryl and Dr. Wilson. Please feel free, jump in.
Uh, lately I've been feeling like what you guys can do, what we can do, like as a I say it needs to be like a more of a gatekeeper. I'm gonna say things that I feel like I've been feeling and like in my gut lately, in my intuition, like uh gatekeeping like what is ours, because I don't it I feel like it hasn't been as black as it should be, because people are able to appropriate and take things that they don't really understand and able to change them in a way. And I don't really like that because it's taken away from the authenticity of black music, black people in general. As I said, like taking old school songs and remixing them to a point of not even speaking about what the original song was about, or expanding on that energy and that feeling. I don't really agree with that.
Good for you. Good for you. Cheryl, jump in and do you think, and Dr. Wilson as well, do you think that or see the need for Black History Month to be pushed even harder since so many people are just kind of like, oh, it's just February, Black History Month? What do you guys think?
Dr. Wilson, you want to go first?
I'll be happy to go first. There is so many layers, and I can appreciate what my sister said that spoke before me. Is so many layers to what she said. Black history is, I believe, the way it's taught now, we teach to put us in the defense.
Mm-hmm.
We don't teach Black history to put us in the offense. We don't have a clear understanding of our strengths as a nation and as African Americans, because historically our focus has taught us to focus only on the negative things that either has happened to us and not the positive contributions we have made in spite of the negative things that have made. So we have to change our focus. And we have to re-energize how we talk about Black history. What are we trying to do? Are we trying to educate, to give people a historical perspective of what used to happen? Or is that story that we tell going to have a future impact on how we operate now? So we have to think about that. And when we tell Black history, especially when African Americans tell Black history, we have to be responsible.
Amen.
Make sure you tell the responsible story, because there are other people that are listening to the stories that we tell. So are they accurate? Are they factual? Are they social? Or are they emotional? So we have to find a way to bridge all of that, so we tell the story where it gives credit to the people who actually live the stories.
Mm-hmm.
I knew you would have the perfect answer for us. I knew it in my soul. Cheryl, go ahead.
Yes, ditto on all of that, Dr. Wilson. And another key word, being accountable. Because the millenniums, I got to honestly say, like during the elections, they really stepped up. But sometimes I think they don't really know that they stepped up for. They just stepped up because they didn't want to see a particular person take over. But what they showed us, and what they showed the ancestors and the grandparents that couldn't go and take that fight, or couldn't get to the poll because they, don't have wheelchair access, whatever the story was, them kids stepped up and they took their grandparents and their parents and made sure they did what they had to do for America. But when it comes to the millennium, trying to get them to understand why these things are happening to us, they ready to fight, but what are they fighting for? So like Pam said, you got to take responsibility for what we're teaching and telling them. And we do get emotional. I'm gonna be honest, I'm a very emotional being.
Same.
But you go so far as you can let the same thing happen over and over and over, and each time you got to find a better way of delivering it. But if your delivery continues to be negative, then you just got to keep going back in that bucket and stirring up the monkeys. Remember the monkeys we used to hook up when we was little? And keep hanging until you can hold on to something better. And that's, to me, the millenniums got to find that way too, because I talk to them all the time and I dance with them. And a lot of them come to dance just to get away from everyday struggles. They marry too soon. They, fall in love in and out, and then they run to us to fix it. You know what I mean? So what is it that we're doing? What are we showing them? A lot of them say, oh, I'm doing what my parents showed me. But what you was watching from your parents, what were you really seeing? Because it takes my sister and them now to explain to me a lot of the things that I go back and remember. I always have to keep asking her, why did this happen? And then she breaks it down for me, basically how she's breaking it down now, so that I can even understand at 62. Because just because you got an age on me don't mean you know stuff. You know what I mean? You only know what you learn, what you take in, and you leave out the conspiracy theories. You know what I mean?
Right. Very well said. And we're hanging out today with these three beautiful queens. Obviously, we're talking about Black History Month, but Black history is world history. It's the world history. I really don't like saying Black history, but that's the tag that we have right now. Every day, there's a person out there of color, Black, Latino, Mexican, Native American, Chinese, Asian, from, wherever, Dubai, or, wherever, North, South Pole, wherever, Samoans, Latinos, como está, my beautiful Latinos, annyeonghaseyo, my beautiful, people from Korea. So it's like, every day there is something happening. And I just want to get to a couple of these comments. And thank you guys for staying active on the chat line, of course. And Dr. Wilson said, moving forward from the legacy of Bill Cosby, America should consider Camille Cosby and the others who are blameless if blame is the issue that brought shame. And you're absolutely right about that. And now we see, how it's all folding out. I guess we'll find the truth one day. George DeFunca Vinci, he's always there for me. He does his artwork back here for me. What's funky, y'all? Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month to you, George. We love you. Keep it up. My guy, Dr. Brookenstein, Nappy Head Funk Army member for the longest time, says hello. And he also says hello to Cheryl and Pamela, and of course, Jazz. Of course, he didn't see them, but I know he'll chime in and give us a comment for you. And of course,
perfectly fine.
No, it's all good. Hey, this is organic. This is how we rolled on the show. Aretha was the first female singer to touch George DeFunca Vinci's ears because his mother played her stuff a lot. And I got to tell you, I heard that song, Ain't No Way, like a billion times when I was a kid growing up. You know what I'm talking about, Doc? I had the people there drinking wine and partying, playing Pity Pat and Tongue, shooting dice, and Aretha's in the back, Ain't No Way. I was like, oh, my God. The soundtrack of my life with the paneling.
Absolutely. That's the anthem that's relevant today.
It is, man. I'm telling you. Of course, George and Boosie with the flashlight thing, and that was mad cool because that changed the way that we looked at some of that music. The funk had switched up to the dance flow, and of course, thank you for the nice comments. And George DeFunca Vinci says, he doesn't get starstruck too many times, but when it comes to George and Bootsy, it's a twinkle, Baba. And we all kind of feel that way because they're our heroes. Like Dr. Wilson said, when they went in the Hall of Fame, I felt like we all went in the Hall of Fame. I really did. They were Black heroes for us. Of course, Brookenstein, Hollywood, if Holly could. And of course, he showed us how to funk, by making it funky, Of course, he's an artist that changed the world, changed the course of funk, of course. And we're looking at now Bruno Mars and now Anderson .Paak and all these people that they work with. And Bernie, this is funny. I got to get this one in because this is everybody who's a funkadelic will know exactly what this is about. Hold on one second. Okay. You're right. James Brown brought the funk art form to the forefront and then George peed on it. And that's how we say in the funk world. Everybody knows what that means. You know what I'm saying? Bernie Worrell is the glue. That's right, to that P-Funk sound. He is the glue, Bernie Woo Wizard Worrell was the baddest keyboardist in the land of Funkadelia. That's right. Then we got a shout out to Bernie. I've been trying to get Judy on for the longest. Maybe she'll come on one day. And he did set the stage, for keyboard stuff. And thank you for the kind words. I try to know as much about this stuff as I can, Doctor. I appreciate that. I want to get down to this last one because this was important. Shout out, see, love you, dear. New funk is not funk, and I agree with that totally. It's a different kind of thing, but it's not the stink. It don't stink like a skunk. And George DeFunca Vinci, of course, says we all live Black history. George, thank you for serving in the military as well. I appreciate that. Hold on. What is this say? Oh, sorry. I'm working on my laptop for the first time in a long time. The barrel of monkeys analogy. Okay, I don't know who made that analogy, but whoever made it is really pertinent because I guess it's important. I know it is. When it comes to Black history, I don't listen to his story. I listen to our story. That's the one I wanted to get on. His story, our story. PE taught us that, Public Enemy. And that's what we kind of go by. Like Dr. Wilson said and Cheryl said, as well as Jazz, we need to just tell a real story. We need to tell it like it's being told. And you're right. It's being told right now, Dr. Wilson. So thank you for that. And see, you guys are a big part of my life even though I only see you once in a while on Saturdays, everybody that I have on this show is very equally as important. Mr. Mark Lee, I need you to join us in this luscious, beautiful journey of Black history, if you can jump on. But while Mark is coming in, I want to thank JTRP, P-Funk Radio, Gabe Gonzalez. Of course, I know you and Callie at NAM, Larry Funkster Jones, Bootsy and Patty. You guys are my heart and soul. Brenda up in Ohio, all the Club Funketeers and ambassadors around the world. HJ Entertainment, my booking manager, Kane and Jams, Tony Cam and the Funk All-Stars. I'll see you next week to record Nappy Funk Army, Oak City Music Collective, my company down here that I work with that is actually a coaching company to help Nappy Head Funk Army go up higher on that ladder. Afterglow 92416, Donna, Sneed, I miss you. Benevolent Funk, Q&A Entertainment out of Georgia. Otis, call me, please. Brooke Clagett, my Funk Angel. Patricia Diori, Aquarius Rising Art and Graphics, Curtis Wilcox, and George the Funk Vinci. This beautiful artwork behind me. Dr. Brookenstein, can't say enough about you, bro. Love you. DJ Coccolino in Italy. Robin Circle P, and I'm supposed to be on that thread sometime today. David Webb, Funk Chronicles. Thank you for inducting us into the Funk Hall of Fame. I appreciate that. Up in Dayton, Ohio. Elizabetta in Ireland. Thank you for playing our music, and thank you in Italy for playing our music. We appreciate you guys, man. Mr. Mark Lee, are you in the house with us, bro?
I'm in the house. I actually had Earl with me as well, so I was going to actually let you talk to a historian.
Let's bring in Earl, and he can give us a little background.
Yeah, I was going to let Earl give a little bit of background, so I'm going to actually shift off and let Earl take this hot seat, and I'll be right back in a second. So I'm going to let Earl have the hot
there
seat.
You go. That's what's up.
Yep,
there you go. I appreciate that. I got to see Earl on the screen. How you doing, Earl? Oh, he didn't get there yet. Okay, we're good. Earl is a historian down here in North Carolina that that I recently had the pleasure of meeting. Earl, what up, bro?
Hey, what's up, Zach? How you doing, man? How's everybody?
I'm okay, man. I got a panel full of beautiful ladies that I want you to meet, as well as yourself, the gentleman behind the things that you do. So I want you to meet everyone. Cheryl and Dr. Pamela Wilson, and of course, my girl out at the bottom, Jazz. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Earl James from the Museum of History, Black History in North Carolina, correct?
Yeah, Earl Imes. Earl
Imes.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself. Introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Zach. I'm Earl L. Imes, 7th generation Imes in North Carolina, a farmer and a historian, and also a curator of African American history and agriculture at the North Carolina Museum of History in Raleigh. Thank you. I've been in that position for the last 16 years. Currently over here at Historic Hayti teaching a genealogy class, and some of the things that I'm sharing with the students is actually pertinent to this discussion that I'm having an opportunity to come in on. And if I can dovetail on a couple of things, I know the young lady who was expressing concern about cultural appropriation, particularly of our music and original music, and I'm going to segue into another musicology after this. But one thing that young people can do, particularly with these phones and things, now that you don't have CDs and 8-tracks and cassettes like we did back in the day, is every time you hear, let's just pick on Bruno Mars for a minute, and he's replaying D-Train. How about you just put D-Train on your phone and give D-Train some of that love and some of that royalty, and then at the same time, we'll educate people like Hollywood could if they would if they could, right? But they can't fake that original D-Train, and even with Bruno Mars. So Bruno Mars is all right, but it's not the real deal. It's like a derivative in math. And so I would encourage you, nothing against Mary J. Blige, but go back and listen to the real Chaka Khan.
Yes.
And stuff like that. So, I can go on and on, but going back to a couple of things that I heard and Dr. Wilson I think if I can piggyback on what you were talking about, the perfect encapsulation of why we should study history, and what I teach about is a rhetorical question that my parents asked me when I decided that I was going to pursue a career as a historian and so forth. And that rhetorical question that my mother posed was, how are you going to make money? And so in the real question, the real world. And so with that, the short answer is enterprise. Enterprise. And as I mentioned, I'm a farmer and historian. But one of the things I was just teaching some of these students here is at the end of the Civil War here in North Carolina, we had 25 majority Black counties and 40% of a Black electorate that was, for the most part, one of the more educated Black electorate probably in the world. You know, being substantiated by burgeoning historically Black colleges and universities like the first in the South at Shaw University in Raleigh, going all the way up until 1910 here in Durham with North Carolina Central. And so when you buttress education with political aspiration and enterprise, the sky's the limit. And so I'd preface that with a quote that one of the first Black elected officials here in North Carolina back in 1868, a brother named Cuffy Mayo, basically told the whole world that we built up this whole empire from the ground. We built it and planted it. First of all, you should know that people who were so-called slaves were builders and planters, transferring that energy, that inertia from the continent to the new world. That was a direct transference. Like the first law of physics is matter's not created or destroyed, it's displaced. And the genius that used to be in Timbuktu and the Gambia and Togo, Sierra Leone, was literally transplanted to North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia. And it's up to us to understand that, even though our blinders in a so-called history, and not our story, to your brother point, a history has worked to delineate the genius who we were even before we got here. I just had to correct some of the vernacular, some of the students referring to our people as slaves leaving the continent. I was like, no, we were people who brought these skills over here that were learned and in the process were turned into slaves over here, which is another whole conversation. But I'm gonna come back and bring it to music. And we were talking about music, and on the Funk Show, I was sharing with you last time we were talking, brother, that I have an opportunity to curate history. And it's one of the first time, you know, people who look like us have had that opportunity in American history. I'm the first Black African-American male curator in North Carolina history.
God bless you, man.
Thank you.
Kudos.
It's something I don't take lightly, because one of my main charges is people who ask me, well, how do we get us in exhibits? How do we see us? My short answer is some people have had 100 or 200 year head start in what's called historiography. In other words, I've been challenging these young people to go and interview their parents and grandparents and elders and get photographs and artifacts and oral histories and record them and create a record. You create our record. And then you'll call me and you'll say, hey, my granddad has a picture of his granddad on the farm from 1870. And guess what I do is I record that and I put it in history, and it becomes his story and our story then. And then it goes on exhibit, it goes on TV, it goes in classrooms. So coming back to curating, back in 2015, well, let me back up and mention a story that just happened to me this past week since we have spoken, Zach. A brother called me from New York named Edwin Jones. Edwin Jones. He's the brother of Nathaniel Nat Jones. You know who we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. So Nathaniel Nat Jones, in short, is one of the fathers of funk music genre. Funk music, in essence, starts in the South, and in particular in Eastern North Carolina during 100 years ago and up into World War II and afterwards. And the short story is, back then, we had a segregated society that mandated laws and customs, but nothing was different about our genius. We always have had a musical and performing art genius that, again, that we brought from the continent here. And we are all music aficionados in the funk music genre in particular, but we could go back to jazz, we go back to ragtime, we can go back to spirituals that we created in this land. So these become all big parts of Americana and as part of American enterprise. Like Black Americana is one of the biggest exports and always has been in American history. It's exporting our history and our culture and our people out of the South first to the North and out of America to Europe and around the world to Asia now. So having said that, back during the days of segregation, when we had our really nice hotels and venues and our own businesses and things, there existed this institution called the Chitlin Circuit.
Yeah.
I'd have heard about that.
Yeah.
And one of the maestros of the Chitlin Circuit was Nathaniel Nat Jones. He was a trained, educated musician, someone who came up in Eastern North Carolina under cultured musicians who were all educated at historically Black colleges and universities, like Shaw Universities, like North Carolina Central, like Fayetteville State, like Elizabeth City State University. And these places, Howard University, where they were classically trained in music as well as education. And so this is all being pent up in the Chitlin Circuit because the white folk were faking it with Tommy Dorsey and stuff like that. But they couldn't get the real thing unless they actually crossed the color line and came to the Chitlin Circuit, which they did. But I say all this to say is that Nat Jones' 10-year anniversary, he died 10 years ago down in Eastern North Carolina, in a place called Duplin County, outside of Wilmington, literally as a pauper, as a poor man in the poorhouse, fighting for the rights of the music that he wrote for James Brown, who we call the godfather of funk. So you might say, well, what are you talking about, Earl Hines? That's a great question. Going back to the Chitlin Circuit, Nathaniel Nat Jones in 1960, he graduated magna cum laude. That means the top of his class at North Carolina Central University, esteemed School of Music. He was already well known before he accomplished that because he had his own classical and funk bands that were touring in the Chitlin Circuit. He was so well known that I accustomed him to the not Nat Jones, but the Quincy Jones of the Chitlin Circuit, because everybody who was wanting to sample the latest sound coming out of America called funk music, they wanted to get it from him and the other folks who were in that Eastern North Carolina diaspora. So James Brown, everyone knows who he is now, and people knew who he was beginning in 1955 when he was signed to King Records, basically as a secondary version of Little Richard.
Yeah, that's right. Good history.
Yeah.
Very good, man. Very good.
Little
I
Richard,
wanted to ask my panel, and we're hanging out with Earl I. James and, hanging out with Sherlyn Woodhouse and Jazz and Dr. Pamela Wilson, all of these great Afro-American examples of hard work, education, determination, right? And also an appreciation to give back their time today to share Black history and open up our Black History Month here on Funk from the Front Seat. I'm going to show, I wanted to ask Jazz, because you're at the bottom, your thoughts on Earl I and what he just said.
Oh my God. I was just listening so closely and so quietly and like not even 100% facing like the camera because it's crazy that he mentioned this artist being really starting off like really poor, because I was just thinking like how I don't really come from money. So uh I was just thinking of like the spiritual aspect of all of this. I really think that music is really spiritual more than anything, because it's emotion, and that's the main thing that you have to have in order to put anything on the track, whether it's your voice or your instrument and whatnot. Like one day I spoke to you about this one record that I really love, which is called Maggot Brain, and how he was expressing the death of his mother through a guitar. And I know that that probably sounds something that's like far out there. Like, how can someone be able to speak to someone's ears through an instrument instead of just singing it, right? So I just think that the more like you don't really have much of money in your background as a ethnic person, it brings the more emotion and music out of you. Because I was just thinking like, well, why am I even here on this podcast sitting with any of you? And I don't really have uh any big music background or like a lot, but it's could people really see the spiritual connection of me being here, or these people that didn't have anything before? How do you not know that years later from now, it's like, I wasn't, I just sitting with this girl and we was on a podcast and she was in her bedroom and whatnot. I think that it all leads up to a point. It's like a domino effect, and everyone who has started off from nothing, you know. And I
That's the
just think
essence
that
of
it's
funk.
amazing. Yeah, I think that funk music in general, it uh it puts a lot of emphasis on who we are as a people and the spiritual connection, and how it could all create like come to life. Like, it's like pulling from the metaphysical to the physical, like in with one thing, like with music. I don't know how to like really, it's
Well,
really
you
Well,
got
hard
some
maybe,
to put
well,
comments.
maybe,
together, but
well,
I'm
maybe
trying
in
to
the history.
find the words to piece it
No,
together,
you
because
good.
it's not.
Because Cheryl said, and go ahead, you can read your comment and tell her, please.
Jazz, it's
Your
happening
presence is not a mistake as
exactly the
long
way
as
it's meant to happen. God makes no mistakes. And just being here today, with things going on or stuff happening in your life, Mr. Dr. Earl gave it to us. And he's basically giving us the history right now, from you as the millennium, to me as the mid-age 62, to my sister as the older generation that's teaching us the right things to do and not the wrong things, to
Mhm.
Zach that's keeping the funk alive and giving us all the opportunity. So know that it's not a mistake. You were meant to be here today, right now,
Mhm.
laying in your bed, organic, just like Zach said earlier.
Exactly.
Tahira,
Exactly.
let me mention this to you too, because
Real quick, I wanted Dr. Wilson to comment on what you before, then I'll let you jump back in. Dr.
Mhm.
Wilson, comment on Earl I, please. I think you're on mute.
I apologize, Earl. You are totally on point and very enlightened regarding musical Black history and Black history in general. I think we need to know that, and I think we need to further expand in showing our young people what's the meaning behind the words. When the people write the words that they do, it is not a mistake. For example, and I just want to say from a historical perspective, musical perspective, the song by Undisputed Truth, Smiling Faces. Listen to the words. Songs are not meant they are not meant to soothe. They're also meant to educate.
Mhm.
And they're also meant to get a reaction out of someone so that they'll listen. And I think that what you have said to us gives us an opportunity to go back into history and explore the things that were not said. And you said them well. So thank you for that.
well, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Earl, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just comment briefly on what Ms. Tahira was just mentioning about her presence being here and it not being a mistake. One of the things and I talk about that's not really taught in an academic setting is the metaphysics of the world. And so, I always am constantly talking about the genius that's transferred from the continent here to the new world, to our space in particular in North Carolina. And so there were some people who were grafted out of Senegal called the Wolof people. They were world renowned before international slavery for beautiful voice and singing melody. And those people were grafted here and brought, and many of their descendants are all over this place and don't even know who they are. But music brings them back into that fold, into the understanding. So that could just be a challenge for you, Mr. Hero, to maybe do your genealogy if you haven't done it.
Definitely. I'm very eager to. There's just so many different angles that I have to put all together in one because like for example, right, as a black artist, you could this is a small thing, a small example of how I try to determine like my background as well because it's I ask my family all the time of like where do I come from, like who am I, like where are we from on the continent, and who am I ethnically, like purely, you know what I'm saying, because there's so many things that try to keep us from knowing who we are, to keep going like the right way and to find our highest purpose as individuals. So I pay close attention to like what makes an artist authentic to themselves, like based off of what beats that they choose. Could that have been where you could be from, or is that where your family has originated, the fact that they could use take a like a Asian kind of sounding beat, for example? Well, like let's say Shaka Khan, like she uses like a lot of almost, it sounds almost Afro beat, like some of her music, like the I'm thinking of her song Ain't Nobody, and it's like this, it's kind of like Afro beat, but then again not like disco, like. So I wonder if, and I look at her appearance as well, like what could she be, like some kind of Asiatic, because a lot of us are Asiatic people. Is she is her background from Asian? Is that why she chose like that kind of beat to have in the background, or is she like more of from African descent, like Liberian, or maybe South African, East African? Like, what is the music telling me about this person? Like, what is the connection there? You know?
I think that and we got about 15 minutes left. I'm gonna let everybody get a last word in, but I wanted to get Mark in. Mark, can you pop in and share the screen for a second? And bring up that picture of one of my favorite entertainers of all time, and you guys would be surprised who that may be.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm going to put James's information in the chat. So everybody out there that's watching, you want to pull his brother up and see what he's doing is cool. Where did Earl go? Can he be on the screen too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Hey.
See if y'all can squeeze it. Okay, Mark, pull up Moms Mabley. There you go. This woman right here. I had to get this because we talk about Black history, and I wanted to end with a Black woman today. And I wanted to, that's right, you already know, Dr. Wilson. I wanted Mom specifically because people forget about her genius. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. I'm going to start with your thoughts on this woman right here.
Were you asking me?
Yes, I'm asking you. And then I want to ask Earl next.
No problem. We were actually just looking it up because Moms Mabley is definitely a pioneer in comedy and all on those lines, and is originally from North Carolina. She's another North Carolina native, Brevard, North Carolina.
And I didn't know that.
I spent a lot
that's
of
what I
time.
was just saying. We were talking. That's one of the things I do is I'm actually looking for artifacts about her so I can help tell her story and help share, primary source history about her through any artifacts, documents, photographs, or if she has relatives. Brevard is near Asheville, North Carolina, and so that's where she's from originally, up in the mountains.
Wow. I
But
didn't know
yes,
that.
but yeah, a lot of, like I say, a lot of musical talent emanates out of North Carolina. North and South Carolina are where we first came to this part of the world. And so then we emanate out from there, and it goes back, 400-500 years. And so the talent is concentrated here, but is often not recognized here and overlooked. And that's when it migrates out.
And just really quickly to add to that and everything, one of the things that Miles Mabley was known for was a tag team. So a lot of people knew Miles Mabley and also Pigmeat Markham. And Pigmeat Markham actually has ties to right here in Durham, North Carolina.
That's right.
So Pigmeat
Yeah.
Markham is actually from here. And when we think about that Harlem Renaissance kind of comedy, which is part of the kind of the whole notion of the Black Wall Streets in Tulsa and a number of other places, and the Chitlin Circuit that Earl was talking about earlier, a lot of that was based right here in this area. As a matter of fact, I do know that Pigmeat has some family members that are still here in this area and all along those lines. But definitely, this is a pioneer in comedy when we think about the great comedians, be they